Hi guys, this is Zach. This episode is our Monster-Mania 26 con report. It was recorded with a handheld recorder, so the sound quality isn't up to our usual standards. I apologize for this. I did manage to record the Kane Hodder and Adam West Q&As. However, the sound quality for those is especially shaky. I did the best I could to make them listenable, but they're still somewhat questionable. If this is your first Bangers and Mash episode, I'll let you know this is not representative of our usual quality. Anyway, I hope you can glean some enjoyment from this, and we'll do better next time. I promise. Anyway, here it is. Bangers and Mash, Monster-Mania 26. Greetings, podcasting universe.
Hello.
This is Mr. Bangers, aka Zach.
And I'm Mr. Mash, aka JD.
And we're doing a special episode today, aren't we, JD?
Yes, we are. We are covering the Monster-Mania Horror-Con.
This is our first episode on the road.
So tell us what you think.
What guest are we here to see at Monster-Mania, Mr. Mash?
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm here to meet a very not-so-widely known person. You know, Adam West.
This is my third year doing Monster-Mania and my fourth con altogether. This year's con has a Batman theme. Adam West is here. I almost said Batman's here. Adam West is here. Burt Ward is here. Lee Meriwether is here. But what are some of the horror guests that are here that we want to see?
Michael Madsen?
Michael Madsen's done some horror movies. Yeah, I would say he sort of counts. It's not what he's most well known for, but he's definitely worked in the genre.
Well, I know who you're here to meet.
Carel Struycken, star of The Prey, my all-time favorite terrible horror movie.
And I was going to go with Rowdy Roddy Piper.
I am looking forward to meeting Roddy Piper. I've heard nice things about him. Supposedly he's a very friendly person.
I'm totally going to get put in a headlock.
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Of course you are. Just remember, though, if I die, you have no way home because you can't drive my car.
That's true. Also, Kane Hodder is here. He's a convention star wall. We've never actually met him before. It's going to be fun.
He always cancels.
Yeah, he actually made it to this one. So far, I mean, I guess it's possible he could still cancel last minute.
Well, we just checked the Facebook, and there was no cancellations.
Charles Band is here. I waffled on whether or not I wanted to actually pay to meet Charles Band, but yeah, I'm going to have. You know he's got some stories.
Yes.
And I'm excited to meet Gerrit Graham of Phantom of the Paradise theme. He was a last-minute addition that I'm looking forward to meeting.
He was? He was the foster dad in Child's Play 2.
Yes, he was, and I bet he's going to be getting a lot of Child's Play stuff signed this evening and tomorrow. What are the other reasons you go to horror conventions besides just paying ridiculous amounts of money to talk to a famous person for 5 minutes and get them to sign some things?
For the gamer RPG nerds out there, we come here for the loot.
Shopping is obviously a big thing. I plan on stocking up on horror-related action figures. There's a bunch I need to get. Because every year I come to a convention, I look for some obscure, very specific item. Last year, first stop we made, they had it. I was looking for the comic book continuation of John Carpenter's The Thing. First place we stopped, they had it. This year I'm looking for a comic book called The Trap Door Maker, and it's a comic book prequel to The Phantom of the Opera, illustrated by Basil Gogos, famous for his cover art for Famous Monsters of Film Lang magazine.
Really?
Yes, really.
I don't know anything about what you just said.
I'm also looking for some trading cards. I'm looking for the Dinosaurs Attack trading cards, which is an attempt to recreate the success of Mars Attacks, but with dinosaurs.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and it's some of the most twisted, gory, violent card artwork ever created.
It sounds amazing.
Are you being sincere or sarcastic?
No, I'm being sincere.
Okay.
I mean, Mars Attacks with dinosaurs? How much cooler could you get?
I'm nodding, yes. Beyond that, you never know what weird shit you're going to find at a horror con. Something that will catch your eye and you'll absolutely have to have it. Obviously, bootleg DVDs.
I like to get my picture taken with the good cosplayers.
Yeah, there will probably be some cosplayers here. Horror cons aren't as big for cosplaying, but I suspect we're going to be seeing a lot of Batman-related cosplay this evening.
I predict that tomorrow will just be cosplay fest.
It's just about time to go down, don't you think? It's getting there.
Go down to the convention, he means.
For the first time, we're actually staying at the hotel the con is happening at, and it's actually...
just like all the good reporters.
Reporters.
Yes, reporters.
In quotation marks. Hope you enjoyed the super special episode, and we'll be bringing you some more stuff later on. What time is it, Mr. Bash?
Sometime after 10.
It is probably close to 11 at this point. Friday evening here in Monster-Mania 26. You want to talk a little bit about the day we had?
First thing we did was wait in line for like 2 hours to meet Adam West.
Yeah, we get here, they already had a line ready for Mr. West. And the thing is, he wasn't down for another 2 hours because they were going for the private meet and greets, which people pay extra money for. After waiting 2 hours in line, they finally opened the door for the plebes, the regular people, who just got the standard pack. How much money did we waste on getting Adam West's signature?
$60.
$60 for Adam West, and that does not include a photograph. Photograph was another $60. Altogether, Adam West would have cost you $120 to get the usual package. And how long did we get to talk to him?
That long.
About 12 seconds. That was a little disappointing, but at the same time, I have to justify this ridiculous expense in my brain by saying, oh, Adam West is like 82 years old. He could be dead next week.
I know I only got to spend 12 seconds with him, but 500 plus people, it's not an exaggeration.
There were a lot of people behind us, yes, waiting to meet him. Although I did at least get to ask him my crazy question. I stumped the band, or in this case, I stumped the Batman.
Uh-oh.
I wanted to ask Adam West about a really bizarre project he did in the 60s called The Poor Devil, which TV movie pilot film with Sammy Davis Jr., Jack Klugman, and Christopher Lee, where Sammy Davis Jr. played a demon, a down-on-his-luck demon. Christopher Lee was the devil. Adam West was a lawyer, and Jack Klugman was the soul. Sammy Davis Jr. was trying to convert. Yes, this was a wacky slapstick comedy about demons possessing people during Sammy Davis Jr.'s Satanism period. Anyway, this is a super bizarre project. So I asked Mr. West about this, and he kind of looked at me and shook his head.
No recollection of this.
Stumped the band. Of course, who was right next to Adam West in that room?
Burt Ward.
Whose line was significantly shorter.
But you know what? We got to spend a little bit more time with him.
Yes, he actually did take questions. And, I had always heard that Burt Ward was a complete and total prick. He was actually pretty nice.
He was bringing up on his phone and showing people pictures of his dog, getting really personal with people.
Yeah, he was actually pretty nice. And I, too, had a weird question to ask him. I asked him about a TV movie he did with Crispin Glover called USA High School. He remembered the film, but he did not remember anything more specific than that. But at least he knew what I was talking about.
I asked him, how many times did he get scared shitless while Adam West drove the Batmobile? And his response was, I didn't get scared as much with Adam as I got scared with the stuntman because he told me the more bones he breaks, the more money he gets. And he goes, well, wait a minute, if your bones are going to break, then mine are going to break.
And what I took away from that is this meant Burt Ward was in the car with the stuntman. Adam West, the big star, was too valuable to actually drive the car, but Burt Ward, he's replaceable. If we break him, we can get another one. After that ordeal where, we waited in line for 2 hours and spent $60 on 12 seconds of interaction, we went down through the dealer's room, and how much shit did we buy in the dealer's room, JD?
At least $300 a piece.
That's probably about it.
No, I got 4 action figures. I got those 2 posters. There's this really great thing that they have here at the conventions where they take a scene from the classic Universal Monster movies, give them this technicoloration, and they look so lifelike. It's amazing. The one from, I believe it's the original Frankenstein, where he's playing with the little girl there by the lake. It looks like you're looking out the window and watching him play with this little girl. It's amazing.
And then you want to talk about the other poster you got?
It's the scene from The Bride of Frankenstein. Elsa Lanchester is the Bride of Frankenstein holding hands with Boris Karloff as the monster, and it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Speaking of the Uni monsters, I got the newest wave of Diamond Select action figures, the Lon Chaney Quasimodo and Boris Karloff Jekyll and Hyde. I got the NECA figure of Chloe Moritz, Scary. The cool find is I found an original Shogun Warriors Mazinger, and he has all his parts. He has both shooting rocket fist. He was only $40. The guy Rocket Punchy. The guy won at 70, then he won at 50, then he won at 40. I felt a little bad because apparently the guy selling that was actually somebody. He was a wrestler or something, and I just felt kind of bad that I had no idea who that guy was.
Neither did I, and I've watched more wrestling than you have, so...
No clue who he is. Anyway, and this year at Monster-Mania, they did something a little different. Usually they have a room set aside for dealers and then a room set aside for guests, and this year they had the dealer's room and the guest in the same room, which was a little congested.
It was more than a little congested. Dread trying to shop tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow when it's super busy. But we did get a number of other signatures. You want to talk about the third signature we got?
Was that Michael Madsen? Yes. Mm-hmm. For starters, while we're standing there in line...
Actually, he was talking to you.
Yeah. As we're standing there talking to Michael Madsen, this African-American gentleman keeps coming up and flipping Michael Madsen the finger right to his face and then walks off. He does this like 2 or 3 times. And finally, Michael Madsen has enough and he goes after the guy.
Got up and walked away mid-sentence with JD, gets up and goes after him. And I was fairly certain we were going to see some ass kicking.
And And let's put it this way, Michael Madsen probably would have won, because he is a big dude in real life.
He is quite large, and he is even raspier in person than he is on film.
He's just an amazing character.
He was nice, yeah, he was cool. He didn't have a lot to say. He was not a jerk by any means. Yeah, was it worth $35 to get his signature in his picture? I don't know. He was cool, yeah.
I mean, I feel like he might have felt a little bummed out. He wasn't getting a whole lot of
surprisingly, yeah, you think he would have been busier, but it might have been just for the time of the day. You never know.
I think it's because he was right there next to Heather Langenkamp, and
who had a way longer line than I expected, considering she's at these conventions all the time.
But she's Nancy.
I guess there's always an audience for that.
She's one of the definitive scream queens.
Gerrit Graham from Phantom of the Paradise was there. Super nice guy. Talked for a long time with him. He was really, really cool. He had a lot of stories to tell about Brian De Palma and working on that movie. Got Carel Struycken. I guess this might be an obvious thing, but exceptionally tall. If you don't know who Carel Struycken is, he was Lurch in the Addams Family films from the 90s. He was the giant on Twin Peaks.
We ran into him in the hallway by the elevator, and he had to crouch down to not hit his head.
Wow. He was cool, though. I asked him about the parade. He didn't have too much to say about that. It was a long time ago. It was a small part for him, but he did at least remember the movie. He was pretty nice. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed seeing him. Who else did we see? Oh, then we went back and got Lee Meriwether, because she was not in the room at first, and we were kind of worried she might have canceled or something, but no, she was there.
She's probably around the same caliber as Dee Wallace as far as being really nice.
She was exceptionally nice. Her and her daughter looks just like she did back in the 60s, all right, to give you an idea.
Her daughter takes after her.
Lee was, unlike Adam and Burt, who both wanted extra for a picture, we were able to get a picture with Lee Meriwether, which is cool.
For $35, actually, I think is what it was.
Yeah, it was not as much, though. All the signatures this year have been a little more than anticipated. Whatever, you pay for it.
I think Kane Hodder's was about normal.
Yeah, we're going to get to Kane Hodder. I've got a story about him. But yeah, Lee was great. I asked her about the 4D Man. I somehow had missed that was her very first movie. And she talked about that at length and talked about Batman at length. She was really great. Really, really friendly.
I asked her about the scene because I'd seen on an interview in one of the extras I have on the Batman Blu-ray, which is now signed by all three of the cast members that were here. But anyhow, I'd asked her about the submarine scene. In this particular interview, she says how Cesar Romero basically held her up during that whole scene because she didn't know what was going on and she couldn't see anything out of the mask.
At that point, the evening was beginning to wind down. A lot of guests were packing up and going away. I got some DVDs. I got Mothra and the complete series of So Weird, the Disney Channel supernatural comedy series. And it was only $20, so I'm thinking, like, even if this does not hold up at all, that 50 cents an episode, if that much.
Just so you know, we're watching Mothra next time I come over to your house.
Agreed. And then we decided to go back and get Kane Hodder. Disappointingly, Roddy Piper has not shown up yet. I hope he shows up tomorrow.
Well, it's hard to figure out where they are. Because there's like that line of tables all the way down at the end of the one dealer hall. So maybe he was there. Since the one wrestler was there, it would make sense to have him.
Oh, God, that one old wrestler guy not only had nobody at his table, was not moving any glossies at all, but he just sat there looking like he was about to cry. The sad wrestler. Mickey Rourke is right here at the convention. He was just so fucking sad. The sad wrestler.
You know, he picked the wrong career.
We went ahead and got Kane Hodder's. First off, wow, he is a character, isn't he?
He's really funny.
He knows how to play to his audience, because not only was he talking to me and JD, but he was talking to the people around him and picking on the people around him. R.H. Minoof, or however you say his name, the dude that played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3, his table was next to him, and they were just tearing
screaming
Syphiliid, or they were really tearing into each other, and it was all in good humor, of course, but it was all I can refer to it as a game of vulgar one-upmanship. I asked him, what's the weirdest thing a fan ever did? Because I know some Jason fans are fucking freaks.
Apparently, in his fan mail one time, he got a vial of this guy's semen.
A fan sent Kane a vial of his semen. What do you even say to that?
Well, my natural response was, I wouldn't have sent a vial of semen, I would have sent a vial of my blood.
And Kane agreed. He's like, yes! Kane Hodder obviously does a lot of cons. You see him all the time with fans where they're posing photographs and he has their hands around their throat. And you think, oh, well, he's just pretend choking them.
No, he's not.
Maybe we're just massive pussies. He was really choking us.
He wasn't like choking the life out of us, but he was putting some pressure on.
I think he made it clear that if he wanted to kill us at that moment, he could have.
Yeah, but he's still probably the best Jason.
Well, that's a matter of debate. But I did say we're staying in the same wing as the famous people. I've got some stories about that. We got some takeout. I went down to pick up the food. I step out of the elevator, and I hear two young, feminine voices saying, oh, well, we just think you're great. And then I hear Adam West, well, I think you are great. Are you two sisters? No, but we should be. I think you should be sisters.
I think Adam West really just has that voice.
Was he being nice or lascivious?
You can't tell.
Obviously, these were two very attractive young ladies, and I think if it was two dudes, like JD or I, who went up to him and started talking to him in the hallway, he would not give a shit, because it was two very attractive young females that had his attention. Get in the elevator, go up a floor, the door opens, room service tray, and a guy who is clearly intoxicated come onto the elevator with me. Then the elevator goes down again, and we go to the subfloor, and there are a bunch of girls all waiting to come in, and they say, oh no, there's a lot of us, it's fine, go ahead. So we go back up, the door opens, and there's Charles Band and Kane Hodder waiting to get on the elevator. If I didn't have a handful of Chinese food, I would have said, oh hey, I'm fans of yours, but I didn't. I figured it was cool. Convention hours is over. They probably just want to go get a drink or something. Oh, and when the elevator first opened up and I was trying to get on, Gerrit Graham and then a fellow, I don't know if he was here as part of the entertainment or if he's just a fan, but he had some, he had no arms, to be blunt. Dan, this is the weird shit you see when you stay at the hotel.
Yes. So, should we tell them how much money we've actually spent?
Is it necessary to tell them how much money we spent? A lot, alright?
Well, let's put it this way. Between the two of us, we've probably spent...
$1,000.
I don't think it's been $1,000. I think it's been a little over $800.
If you factor in lunch, it's probably been $1,000. We spent probably more than we should have, but, that's what it's here for. Panels tomorrow. As you're listening to it, it will be immediately. For us, it will be tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
You rang.
So how you guys doing?
Good.
Awesome. How you doing? So you have two iconic madmen. Who would like to start off with the first question? Yes, sir.
This one's just for Kane. I just watched Amongst Friends, and your role in that was so hilarious. Everybody anybody that's met you is probably intimidated by you. How was that? Was it more a matter for Danielle?
Yeah, he's talking about Among Friends, that Danielle Harris, her first job as director of a film, she asked me to be in it, and she said, I don't want to go with the scripted stuff, so just ad-lib your dialogue. So I'm the limo driver, and I make comments about all the people coming out of the limo and their crew, and just like me. So it was fun, and I think the movie's pretty good, really. It's surprisingly better than I thought it would be. And I don't kill anybody. In fact, I get killed after I dance.
I heard you guys were.
I don't dance well, but
I heard you guys were dancing last night at the VIP party.
he was.
Okay.
He was slow dancing with himself.
Any other questions?
Wait, but before you go on, let me just tell you about a movie that, if you don't mind.
No, sure.
A movie that R.A. and I just finished. It's called Smothered, and John Schneider from Dukes of Hazzard, he was Bo Duke, wrote a script that I think is brilliant, and he directed a film that R.A. and I were in, Bill Moseley, Don Shanks he was Michael Myers in Halloween 5, I think it was.
Yep.
And Malcolm Danar, is that who it is?
Danar, yeah.
He was Moochie and Christine. And
Gerrit Graham was on Dexter.
right, that's right, yeah. And we play basically ourselves as horror icons that nobody gives a shit about anymore.
And don't forget who else was in cameos by John Tales from the Crypt Casino.
Yes.
Michael Berryman.
Right.
And John Schneider himself even got in front of the camera.
Wow, that's awesome. You guys just finished it?
We finished in June. It's supposed to come out Friday the 13th of December, I'm told.
Is that going to be theater?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
And it's a horror comedy where, like I said, we play ourselves who nobody cares about anymore. We're the has-beens of horror, and we're bitter and pissed off, and nobody wants our autograph. And we go on a road trip in my motorhome, which is a piece of shit. And we go because we get paid to haunt a trailer park. And we're like, hey, $1,000 for the weekend. We go on a road trip and start getting killed off one by one by a killer.
I'm the first one to die.
Spoiler.
Quite a brutal way, but we're playing ourselves, but
Versions of ourselves.
yes, but in a different way. He plays R.A., but he carries a little puppy with him, and
My little pupper whopper, did you miss your daddy Waddy?
He's afraid of the dark. It's hilarious, really.
Yeah, my character is kind of delicate.
And Don Shanks, who is a Native American guy who played Michael Myers, is asked to build a teepee and doesn't have a clue how to do that. So he screws it up and kind of results in his death, but in a way. But it's just, Bill Moseley, he doesn't really play himself. He came up with a character name called Soggy Christian. I'm not sure what the significance of the name is, but because his character was originally written for Robert Englund. That's what John did. He made a character that has, kind of knives on the glove type of thing. A version of Freddy. My version of my character is Mason, and I wear kind of a hockey mask looking thing. Your character is what?
Burlap face from the Cincinnati skill saw murders.
Burlap. And what was Shanks? What was his character?
Actually, I don't even remember.
I don't either. Did they?
I don't even think they even addressed it.
Huh. But it was funny because we shoot some scenes at a horror convention at the beginning of the movie where we're all bitter and stuff, and then we go on the road trip, and it's just very well written. And to me, the best part of Schneider is that it's a brilliant script, first of all, but what he would do was we would shoot a scene, we'd do a take of a scene, and then something would pop into his mind. And on the next take, he would say, hey, what about this? And without fail, for the things that he suggested for me, they were unbelievably moving and kind of interesting. Like, there's a scene where the killer puts super glue in my Mason mask, and I put it on, I can't get it off my face anymore, so it's glued on there. And the killer says, well, let me help you, I'll put gasoline on it to get it. Of course, that doesn't work on the glue, but now I'm doused in gasoline. Then I realized that she is the killer, and I grab her gun, and I have my gun pointed at her. And we have a little scene where I'm realizing she's the killer, and I'm about to shoot her, but she says, go ahead and shoot. You'll just set yourself on fire. And we cut, and that's the scene, and then John comes over and says, what if she said this? And I was like, that is amazing, because I'm playing myself. So the next take, she says, go ahead and shoot, you'll just set yourself on fire. You should know something about that, shouldn't you, Kane? Wow, that is personal, and I think was brilliant. Because, obviously you guys know I got burned doing a fire stunt. So she made it so personal and vicious that people are going to say, shoot that fucking bitch. And then she says, again, in the same scene, she goes, you won't shoot, the hero never shoots the girl. That's how we did it, and then he goes over to her, and then talks to me, and the next take is, she says, you won't shoot me, the hero never shoots the girl, and I say, I've never been the hero. Boom. I think it's the way I describe the movie, it's a horror comedy with heart. It really is. It has so many scenes that are touching, like him with his dog. Sounds corny, but it makes it like, oh, and then you're sad to see him die.
Yeah, and there's a little bit in the movie where one of the girls in our group makes a little aluminum foil dog, wiener dog, like my dog, and she gives it to me as a present. And when I die, I've got it in my hand, and it's kind of, and as I die, my hand opens up and the little dog falls out.
It sounds kind of corny, but when you see it the way Schneider presents it, it's really touching. It's a funny movie, there's some good violence, there's a killer, And I guess they're not trying to keep the killer secret, are they?
Yes, they were.
Oh. Well, you just know the killer's female, that's all. That's all you know. You don't know the significance of the title of the movie, Smothered, which you'll find out.
I would like to just add something about John Schneider to what Kane said. John Schneider's really on top of his game. Every note he would give me for my performance was so spot on and just improved it immensely. You know, the guy's been in the trenches for how many years, and he knows his craft.
Yeah, he really does. I never thought I would work with somebody as creative and as talented as a director as Adam Green is, but Schneider's just the same.
This is for both Kane and RA. You know, you have passion, you have Friday 13th, you have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but the first 10 minutes of the panel has been about films that are kind of out of the slasher, heavy sort of horror vein. Is that what both of you are heading more towards now? Horror films, but horror films that have more content to them, have more of a story, have more of a heart to them. You talk about Among Friends, which is in a sense kind of a twisted horror comedy.
Right.
Projects you talk about, I've heard about the drama with you and Tony Todd that you've been working on. Is that the way you're going, or is it just it just happens to be the right timing, the right projects?
Well, for me, it wasn't a conscious effort, but fortunately I keep getting directors that challenge me in another way, that I haven't done a scene like that before. Like the movie that you're talking about that I did with Tony Todd is called The Family. It was called Cut when we shot it, but it's The Family, directed by Joe Hollow. And he gave me a scene to do in a prison cell where I'm talking about a fictional version of how I got burned. And it's very emotional. I'm telling the story to Tony Todd, and he gave me a chance to do some really emotional stuff, just like Adam Green has done. And it's just a nice scene. Also, he let me write the entire monologue about how supposedly I got burned. Some of it is how it really happened, but then, you know, it's a fictionalized version to fit the story more. But it was really cool to deliver the monologue, and I end up crying at the end of it. And then I cut, and I walk out on the set, and there's 3 people crying on the crew. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. And in my case, you know, I mean, I'm an equal opportunist. You know, I'm not trying to shape my career in any direction. If I like a project, I'll take it.
Like I was going to say, you spoke with Ash Miller and you talked about Rick Rose. That you worked with on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not really a departure. I mean, that's just a psycho, you know, killer that escapes from prison and goes for revenge. So, I mean, it doesn't matter to me, you know.
But I think, you know, don't you agree that it's nice to do something? We still love doing the stuff that we're known for, but it's nice to do something a little different because people are going to see a different side of him in Smothered. And it's like, oh, interesting, you know. I mean, it's a little bit of a risk, I guess, if you look at it a certain way that, you know, you hate to show that side, but then most often fans appreciate it because they know that you're good at the other stuff and you do something different. It's like, oh, that's pretty good. So, you know, it's a challenge, but yes. Do I like Victor or Jason? You know, obviously you have to love playing Jason because it was a character that was known around the world before I ever put the mask on. So there's no way to not feel honored that I was cast in that role. The negative a little bit is that 6 other people had played the part before. So it was kind of a preconceived idea of how Jason was, you know, in certain ways. So I had to kind of just come up with my own version and still make it similar to what had been done in the past because I didn't think that it should be completely different. But I just wanted to add a couple things and make it more interesting. With Victor, it was nice because I started the role from scratch. And between Adam Green and myself, we could develop the character from the beginning with our own ideas. And so I really can't say that either one was more of a favorite, because I love both of them. And it's not to, be like a cop-out, but I really did. So they were just different in those two ways.
Can you guys just speak a little bit about Adam Green? He's just making huge waves, and
Adam Green is just an amazing, talented guy, and I think you guys probably know me well enough. I don't say something about somebody unless I mean it, because at this point in my career, I don't have to kiss anybody's ass, But he is so creative and such a good director from the beginning, which is unheard of, really. For somebody to direct their first feature film and be like someone that's done 50 movies from the beginning. It was amazing to watch him work. I would have sworn nobody would believe that it was his first movie, because Hatchet really was his first feature-length, decent budget movie. And he was so amazing from the beginning, and we have such a good relationship that I usually do something in everything he does.
You were just on the TV show Austin,
right?
And that was a great role, by the way.
Another risk, by the way. Yeah, he says, "Okay, I want you to play yourself in Holliston." I said, "Good, okay." But every time somebody mentions Freddy versus Jason, you're going to freak out. I was like, because that's kind of a sore spot with me, that I was replaced and never given a reason for it. But I thought, maybe this is the time to make fun of it now. Because everybody knows that I basically got fucked over and never was told why. So why not make fun of it now? Sorry about that.
Oh my God, Jason just said the F word.
That's me. If you've read my book, you'll know I use that word quite a bit.
The young man right there that's dying to ask a question.
Both you and R.A., you both had probably one of the greatest epic fight scenes I've ever seen in Hatchet 2. It was, I don't think I've ever seen two physical titans come together like that and battle it out. You like what that was like going in that scene?
Can I take the lead on this one? Well, everything you see in that fight is Kane and I. And Kane was the stunt coordinator on the movie, and it's up to the stunt coordinator to hire the people to do the action. Kane was confident in me enough to allow me to do the fight scene with him, and I think we just did a knockdown, drag out balls to the wall, rafter shake, and fight to the death. I didn't read the script and didn't realize I was the one who was going to get killed. Otherwise, I might have passed.
Well, was the movie about Trent?
Actually, the movie was not called Trent 2, so I should have had a clue.
Yeah, it was a fantastic fight. If I remember right, it took like 12 hours to shoot, didn't it?
It took all day, yeah.
A full day, and you try to fight this guy, he's not a small guy. And some of the stuff we didn't really rehearse completely, so it wouldn't look rehearsed. And I think within the first hour, I tore my bicep somehow. And it was just ridiculous. I have a picture of it on my phone the following days, where I don't bruise easily at all, but I had a bruise from where my scar ends here down to my wrist. This entire part of my arm was purple, and it's like nothing I've ever had before. But it happened early in the fight, and then we had to keep fighting.
And he worked all day with that injury.
And I put his head through the wall, and he smashed a cabinet door on my head.
That was not supposed to happen.
It looked good, though. There's no way it could look rehearsed. It was one of my favorite fights I've ever done.
But I'm going to, just back to the bicep insertion, I know many people that have had bicep insertions. It's extremely painful and pretty much debilitating for any kind of physical activity till you heal. And that man there, who was injured early in the day, continued to work all day long.
I think it's right.
Anyone else have a question? Yes, all the way in the back.
Yeah, you guys were both involved with Ghost Adventures, so I was wondering how you got started with that, whether you guys had any paranormal experiences like in the past prior to that.
Yes, yeah, but should we tell them how we have one contract with that? Yeah, sure. Well, we just recently attended another convention 2 weeks ago, and Zach was there, as well as Aaron and Billy. And we were having a little, well, I guess you could call it a confab with Zach at the bar, and we raised the idea of doing another episode. And so who knows? We may have one somewhere down the pipeline with those guys.
Yeah, because we had a great time. R.A., myself, and Rick McCollum, who is a stuntman I've been working with since Lone Wolf McQuaid back in '81, I think it was. So Rick and I founded the group Hollywood Ghost Hunters. We're always interested in the paranormal. We thought it'd kind of be a cool group to get together of ghost hunters that consist of people that work in horror films, whether it be actors, makeup effects, directors. Adam Green's in the group, Danielle Harris, Chris Carnell, who was the miner in My Bloody Valentine, Ed Ackerman, who was in Hatchet 2. He's the guy who put his face into the boat propeller. And you know, it's an interesting group of people, and we do actually go investigate places. We've been all over the country, just kind of for our own sake. We've been to, you know, Sloss Furnaces and Waverly, of course, and all over the place. And I personally have never seen or encountered anything good, unfortunately. I want to so badly, but I'm a little bit of an open-minded skeptic, because I think a lot of paranormal stuff that people talk about is exaggerated, because something small will happen and somebody wants it to be paranormal so badly that they'll build it up, and sometimes subconsciously, into something that it really isn't. And you have to be careful, and with EVPs and stuff, you hear something, and somebody says, oh, that sounded like the devil will get you. And then as soon as that suggestion is made, then that's what it sounds like now. So the power of suggestion is huge, and I don't know if that's why I haven't, it has to be pretty compelling for me to...
You'll be the first guy to say it, though, as soon as it happens. Like, you'll come out and say, oh my God, you know, this, I really believe.
Well, I'm not a disbeliever, but boy, it's got to be pretty convincing to make me excited. Mm-hmm. Not just a sound or a shadow or an orb.
For example, with TV, so TV, they need ratings, they need something to happen to equal ratings, so, yeah, of course.
But it was fun doing the episode, and we'd like to do it again.
Absolutely.
Yep, right there.
The remake for Friday, I didn't see. Still, I won't. It's not because I was replaced and all that. It's just that I would have. I watched Freddy vs. Jason. You know, if I was going to be bitter about anyone, it would be that one. Well, but when I saw the trailer for the remake and I saw Jason running, I was like, I don't think I want to see that. I have nothing against Derek. He was in Hatchet 3. Yeah. Thanks. What do you think of the chance?
Well, if there was ever a movie that I wanted to hate, it was the 2003 remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, for the simple reason I thought I was a very viable candidate to reprise the role. And they never even brought me in to see if I was still breathing. So, you know, I was kind of had a big chip on my shoulder to begin with. when it came out, I have to admit, I finally watched it on cable, and it wasn't half bad. I mean, it was okay.
Since you did, Return of Texas Chainsaw Massacre over the Next Generation, the remake, prequel, that is, if you can't see the original, you've seen them all.
I have not seen the 3D one yet because I didn't have anything to do with it. I'll watch it when it comes out on cable. I don't think I saw the 2005 prequel to the remake. I don't think I've seen that one. Or I've seen maybe parts of it, but not the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the remake. That one just came out in January.
You did?
I actually did.
Again, there's another case where I thought I would also be another very viable candidate for the role because chronologically, by fast forwarding 30 years, it would put it right in my true age. And I thought, they should at least bring me in and see if I can walk without tripping over furniture. And that didn't happen either, so. But I don't really, I'm over it. I don't have any, I'd love it, believe me. If I ever had the opportunity to reprise the role, I'd do it in a minute, but highly unlikely. I'd love it, are you kidding? It's strangely enough, very few people know this, but I was actually contracted to do Texas Chainsaw 3, 4, and 5. And it just never happened. And by the time they got to the 2003 remake, even though New Line was tangentially involved in it, the contract I had didn't bear any weight on the thing.
And I think you guys probably know that Paramount has reacquired the rights to a Friday the 13th movie. And supposedly, I haven't seen it, but somebody said there's a petition online to bring me back as Jason, so that'd be cool.
I started that petition.
Well, thank you.
R.A., were you...
Wait, Corinna has a question.
Oh, okay, sorry.
What's your favorite Jason that you created?
Favorite Jason what?
That you played?
Oh, part 7 for me. I think Jason looked the best in part 7. And the makeup was the best, and the action was fantastic because it was all stuff happening to Jason. So that's my favorite one.
R.A., there's always a lot of people talking about different cuts of Leatherface. Were you happy with the final result of the film, or is there did you shoot additional scenes that never made it, that you felt would have made the movie better?
Well, there was a ton of stuff that was in the screenplay that never made it to the screen. What version makes the best one? I don't feel qualified to judge. I was happy just to star in a movie that came out in theaters, so, but there are some cool stuff that got cut out, and one of the problems we had was with the MPAA. We lost our original opening date because of all the cuts required and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so somewhere between the theatrical version and what was on the screen, there's a lot of good stuff. I'll tell you one scene specifically that never was even filmed. The way it was written by David J. Scow. I don't know if anybody recalls the scene where there's that squirrely little girl that's escaped, and she runs into Ken Foray out in the woods, and then he takes off, and I find her, and I grab her, and I impale her on the tree. And
she was the one that escaped in the beginning.
Yes, and the way we filmed it, I took the saw and I just kind of, went into her like that. The way it was originally written was I was supposed to take the saw and cut up through the crotch, up through her head, and she was supposed to fall. Never even filmed that.
So I did that in Hatchet 2. To 2 guys, Rick and Colton. Cut them up the middle while they're back to, like that. So it's quite amazing how certain movies get away with so much, and then other movies get everything cut. Part 7, every single kill that I did in Part 7 was almost completely cut out, which was amazing to see that they thought all of that needed to go. Maybe some of it, whatever. It just seemed like it was targeted in a way. Because then, well, we can't have you smash a girl in a sleeping bag against a tree 7 times. You can do it once, but not 7 times. And then, whatever that movie, I think it was Hostel, they cut off a guy's penis and feed it to a dog. Something. And that's worse than a sleeping bag against a... I mean, that's easier than a sleeping bag against a tree. It's just so subjective. It just depends on who you talk to. I've known directors that will submit a film to the ratings board, who, by the way, are anonymous. They rate films and dictate what we watch, and they're not advertise who they are, which I think is wrong. But
and they can't even come out afterwards and say who they are. There's like one guy that, I think it's, there's a documentary about it where one guy came out and talked about it.
Right.
He had no history of being anything in films besides just going and watching movies.
Exactly, and they dictate what we get to watch, which just it goes against me. But I know of a director, and I'm not going to mention the name, but this person submitted a version of the film to the ratings board, and they said, no, that's way too violent, you're going to get an X rating and all that. So take it back and cut some things out. So he took it back, he did nothing to it, submitted it again, and they said, okay, that's better. That's how amazingly biased it can be. Just maybe a couple different people said, yeah, that wasn't that bad. It was the exact same movie, so.
Any questions? Yes, in the green shirt.
For the both of you, favorite kill?
Well, there's 2 answers for me. Favorite Jason kill is the sleeping bag.
Okay.
Just because it's killing somebody with something that's not a weapon. And all-time favorite kill is from the first Hatchet movie, when I ripped the old lady's head apart by her jaw.
Okay.
Honorable mentions: punching the guy's head off in Part 8, freezing a girl's head and smashing it on a counter in Jason X, curb stomping him in 2. You gotta love that one. I put his mouth on the table and stomp on the back of his head, and his head shears off and his eyes blink. Classic.
Actually, compared to him, I don't even have a body count. Seriously. So, I mean, seriously.
He doesn't want to incriminate himself. That's all.
I mean, on cinema, I don't even know if I've even killed anybody. Technically speaking, that is. Except that the aforementioned girl but was that my favorite kill of mine? Not necessarily. I don't think I have. It's like children. I like them all for their different virtues.
Here in the green hat.
This is a question for R.A. One of my favorite scenes in horror movie history is the Speak and Spell scene. The feeling of rage I saw even through a mask in your performance of Leatherface in that scene, as far as, I'm just, it was so convincing. I'm curious, where did you dig down to find the motivation to show that just unspoken rage? So that's what I think, in my opinion, one of the most powerful scenes in horror movie history.
What?
The Speak and Spell scene.
Yes.
And where did you find that? You could see the absolute rage, that you portrayed. What was your motivation for that? Because even with a mask, it was so convincing.
I don't know. I can't tell you that. Here's how I can tell you how the Speak and Spell scene happened. I don't think it was actually written in the script, but the prop guys handed me that Speak and Spell thing, and I said, "What do you want me to do with this?" I said, "Well, do something with it." And I said, And so I sat there and I decided that I would find a picture of a little boy or a little girl, because that would be brutal, and then I'd do the food thing. But the only humanoid character on the disc or whatever it was that clown. So that's, I had to pick that by default. And the food, the motivation was, what are these people all about? They want to eat, they want to survive. There's a line later in the movie that, Ken Foray says, why do you people do this? And Vigo says, we're hungry. So I think it might have been some kind of play off of that. But when you're a homicidal, can I say this in public, retarded or whatever, brain damage, mentally challenged, developmentally challenged, homicidal maniac. Your tolerance for your frustration level is very low. So when it wouldn't cooperate, just that's. Plus, I'm one of these guys, I want things my way all the time. So I blended that in, so, F-O-O-D, try again. And, every time that, and I don't like technology to begin with, so every time that thing would not cooperate, I got,
and I think R.A. and I are both, I've always said this about both of us, that personality-wise, a normal person lies in this area, a homicidal maniac killer is here, we're about here. So getting to the enraged stage is a shorter trip for us, so it's easier to get there. And then, I'm sure you'll also agree that you get a director talking to you about doing a movie and he said, okay, I want you to express tremendous rage and anger in this scene. And by the way, you can't use your voice or your facial expressions. You can just use your eyes. It's like, wow, that is a challenge. And a lot of people don't realize that it's almost harder to act in a mask than it is when you have all your faculties that you can use, your face, your voice, your, grimacing and all that. So that seems easy when you can do it with just your eyes. And in my case, one eye.
Yeah, but you pulled it off in Jason X when you're hanging and the guy's taunting you and you kind of give him that look and you can see the eye open and the eye, you kind of zoom in on it. So you pulled it off great. We're going to start wrapping it up here, guys. So we'll take one more question right there.
The reason you don't call Among Friends, Daniel Harris, the director of you. What was it like working with Daniel Harris, the director?
You came in late, didn't you? No, that's all right. We didn't really talk about Danielle being a director, other than mentioning that it was her first directing job. She did a great job. She's in the movie a little bit as a cameo type thing. But, she was really good to work with. She's one of my closest friends in horror, so it was a pleasure to go in and do the movie. And like I said earlier, I think the movie came out pretty good. I think she did a good job, and the killer is pretty convincing, acting-wise, for me. So it was fun, and I was happy to see her go, in a different direction like that, directing. Hopefully she'll do it again.
How about a round of applause for these guys?
So without further ado, why don't we go back to the 60s? This first lady that I'm going to bring up on stage has been in some of the most classic and iconic shows. Star Trek, Time Tunnel, The Munsters. She was Miss America. She's in All My Children. But she's here today for one reason. Because she was the Catwoman in the 1966 feature film Batman. Let's make some noise for Miss Lee Meriwether. Keep it going, guys. Lee Meriwether.
It's just glad you're rolling her.
She never usually holds my hand. That time she did. She had a sense. Well, welcome. We thank you for coming. Now, this next gentleman we'll bring up here has gone from being the Caped Crusader to the Canine Crusader. And the reason being, if anyone's ever been over the table talking to me, you'll find out that in the last 19 years, him and his wife have operated the largest giant breed dog rescue in the world and have rescued over 14,600 dogs. It's just amazing. It's staggering. But, again, he's here today because of that 15-and-a-half-year-old boy he played in the 60s. Give it up for Robin the Boy Wonder, Burt Ward!
If you ever watch the show, it's God, what happened.
Right? And this guy is recently the spokesman for NEBO for the universities. He's been on Family Guy. He's been on The Simpsons. He's a bit of everything. We can't get rid of the guy, but we absolutely love it. He's the classic and the only Batman. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Mr. Adam West.
I'm going to get rid of this in about 2 weeks. That's what the doctor said. But he lies.
I think you should trade it up for an umbrella, but I think that's infringing on some sort of copyright, isn't it? So.
Thanks for a great introduction. Did you ask these people how many of them would like a photograph?
Yeah, are you a bunch of you going to come over and see us after?
After $60.
Yeah.
Would there be a charge? I don't know. Are you charging?
Fred's not as I think if you go after the panel, and Fred will tell you the charges of.
What would you charge?
I haven't spoken to Burt yet.
Be kind.
Now what we're going to do, guys, is I don't see there's a mic in the room, so you're going to have to stand up, put your hand up, I'll kind of point you and yell out real loud. We'll take as many questions as we can. We are running late and unfortunately can't extend it come some of the deadlines, but we'll get as many questions as we can. Yeah, I can't get on the floor though, so we'll make it work. I'll repeat it if need be. Hannibal, stand up there. We're going to get a question.
One of the most ridiculous cliffhangers for Batman two-parters. Would you say the most ridiculous was a two-part Liberace episode, how you escaped and how you did it, where you were going to be perforated by the giant piano machine, you and Burt Ward, and the way you got out of it was by visualizing the coordinates in your mind so that the keys would go in the outlines of your bodies, where all you had to do was have to hit one low note or one high note over and over again instead of a beep up, oh, beep up, oh, oh. Is there a more ridiculous moment on the Batman TV show?
It was horrible. We had the real Liberace, didn't we? Michael Douglas wanted to do it. It's only free.
Yes, ma'am, right there.
This question's for Burt. When you did the movie, which was hilarious, by the way, Return to the Batcave, the flashback scenes that you guys did, did some of that really happen? Was that like reminiscence of really happened when you guys were filming?
Well, absolutely. No, both the movie we did, Return to the Batcave, The Misadventures of Adam and Burt, was based on both of our books. Adam has a great book out, and I have a book out. And what they did, the writers, they took sequences and information from them and kind of combined it together and then wrapped it around with a new idea of them, getting back together to fight a heinous crime. So yes, all of that was true.
It's great. It's a great movie.
Did you see Lee in the movie?
There was one part that really wasn't true. But in truth, what you saw was real. Adam, bless his heart, helped me out. I played the waitress, who supposedly, when she was younger, at a convention, asked Adam to sign her part of her body. And that's
You want to show us?
But it came time for the reveal in that particular movie that I would show them and that I still had his autograph. And the director came over and said, our grip is really good at handwriting. And I said, what? I thought that they would have some kind of press-on thing that they could just peel and it would be Adam's autograph. And oh, please, no, I'd rather not. He said, Lee, we have to have it. And I said, and I went to Adam and I said, please, would you mind? Would you mind autographing me? And he said, oh, Lee, do you really want me to? I said, yes, better do than, please, at least I like you and I know you, and I won't be that horribly embarrassed. And it was, and he was so delicate, and so he kept asking, you sure? You sure? And signed his autograph. And I thought that was very nice, very gentle. And I want to thank you publicly, Dr.
Yes, sir. Stand up. Nice and loud.
This question for Burt. So, did you have any trepidation when you decided you were going to combine Batman and have that kind of crossover with the Green Hornet? And they said, well, Adam's going to get to fight the Green Hornet, and you get to fight with his martial arts on the play.
Well, actually, what most people don't know is that Bruce Lee and I lived in the same condominium complex, and we knew each other before that. And we sparred together often, okay, in a lot rougher way than what we did on the show, because they didn't want anything that ever really smacked of real violence. This was a family show for kids as well. But I have very fond memories. We were good friends, and I remember going to dinner with his wife, Linda, and at the time, Brandon was 3 months old, his son. And we'd go down into Chinatown and we had dinner and stuff like that. And of course, him being from Hong Kong, he knew all the authentic food. But in reality, I had no trepidation because I'd already known him and we had been fighting for about a year. But he was an amazing martial artist, man who trained 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. And anybody that puts that kind of level of training in, obviously is going to be very good at what they do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sir, the great stand up. Nice and loud.
Hey, for both Batman and Robin. You ever thought you did a show with an episode with the Green Hornet? You ever thought of doing back then? You ever thought of doing other superhero episodes, like for example Superman, Flash, or Green Lantern, or something like that?
Did you guys ever want to do a crossover episode with the Flash, Green Hornet, or any of those guys other than Green Hornet and Superman? No.
Well, we did Legends of the Superheroes. Did you hear that? We did Legends of the Superheroes, or we were. It was a movie that we had. That was, well...
The Batmobile is total.
But we did do that, yes, so it was done. It was done with a different production company.
I meant like not the cartoon, but I meant like
It wasn't a cartoon, it was live. It was live. The Legend of the Superheroes, there was, what characters?
Destroy the Batmobile.
Just name it.
Yeah, well, they had all these characters.
I can do that.
Yes.
Shazam.
Ghetto Man.
Sullivan Brothers.
The Amazing Huntress. That's right.
Oh, Huntress.
Of course you remember.
You remember it's Huntress.
I was young, I was impressionable.
Well, so was Burt, but didn't stop.
Sir in the blue.
With Huntress.
First off, to the three of you, I'd like to give you this greeting. Citizen.
Is that a Family Guy thing?
I don't know. And this is probably around 1968. According to the extras on the DVD of Diamonds Are Forever, the widow to Cubby Broccoli said that you had dinner with the producer of the James Bond movies and possibly was being lined up to be Bond for Honor and Majesty's Secret Service. Did you have dinner and did you do a screen test?
Were you there? I seem to. He drank too much. What you said is absolutely true. I was asked to do James Bond. Now, I couldn't because I had another deal going. Also, I thought it definitely should be a Brit, an Englishman, even though maybe I could have faked it, but you know. Bond. James Bond.
This is great.
What occurred to me last night in my sleep, what had I done Bond and having done Batman, what was next? The Beatles? I'd play the drums for the Beatles. Then I would have done all of the 3 Bs of the 60s. Too much for one man.
Yes, sir.
For all 3 of you, what was your favorite quote from the movie?
I like holy guacamole.
Some days you just can't get rid of it.
Yes! Yes!
Because that sequence was so well designed by the writers and people that we had, and it was, the background, everything was good. The Batman running around the pier in Santa Barbara, I'm still out of breath thinking about it. With his damn bomb. He couldn't throw the bomb because of a little ducky swimming by. So he finally said, at the end of this long sequence, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. It's a very well-known, regarded comedy sequence. So don't think we're just a bunch of larks and amateurs.
Now, Lee, not to put you on the spot, you played a Russian journalist. Can you still remember the name of the character?
Kafka.
Yes. Titania Irenia Titania Karenska Alasov. They changed the shooting schedule and came to me and said, we're going to shoot this instead of what we're doing right now. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, I don't know that. And it was when I took off the message, I am Katania, Irina Tatania Terenska also. And I come from the Moscow Yugo. My friends call me Kitka. But I could do the last sentence, 2 sentences, but the name itself, and I ran it in my head. And we're filming late, come on. And I had to do it. And I was able to. That's the last thing that I've had no problems memorizing. Isn't that weird? Nowadays, well, of course, I'm getting quite old, but nowadays it's difficult to memorize things for myself. But back then, here's something that you think, oh, I'm never going to learn this. And especially in 5 minutes, I'm very awesome. I don't understand.
Oh, we're glad you did. Sir, stand up for you.
All 3 of you, how much ad-libbing did you get during the show? I mean, how far off the scripts could you go? How much ad-libbing did you do?
I went off, I had a survey done, 22.47%. Yes, occasionally, but very seldom, because we had really good writers, like Lorenzo Semple Jr., who wrote that amazing pilot. And so we could, take a few liberties once we were trusted. But most of the time it was pretty well done.
We did have one sequence that we did do a lot of ad-libbing.
I beg your pardon?
Yes.
Is this what I think it is?
No. And that was when there was Batman, Robin, and Batgirl. And that somehow we got ourselves tied into the Siamese human knot. And we were trying to get out of the knot, and it was supposedly there was really only 2 lines. Batman said something like, Robin, if you turn your head to the left, I can slide my arm out, and then I was supposed to say yes. But what happened was we started ad-libbing, Adam started, and then I followed, and then it went on for like about 2 minutes, which is way too long. It was only about 20 seconds supposed to be. And the director is listening, and Adam as Batman is saying, well, Robin, if you could move your left ear slightly, about 30 degrees, I can move my right foot. And all of a sudden the director goes, wait a minute, this is not in the script. Cut. And then Adam and I had a lot of scenes where we really had fun doing this, and I think it came across to people. We had that one Catwoman scene with the 2 Catwoman statues, remember that? Yes. That we had to place in an unusual position to create the map of where the Catwoman's hideout was. Remember that? Where we had to turn one statue upside down and face it towards the other statue. Do you remember that?
Just Robin.
And I remember it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and in those days they had these really hot lights. Today they have much cooler lights so that you're not working under such intense heat. But here we were both in costume, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We've been sweating all day shooting these things and burning up in the heat, and like between every take they come and put more, first they dry you off, and they take a hair gun and dry Adam's chest, and then they powder us down, and then we go back and shoot. But at 5 o'clock we were burning up, and Adam and I are trying to get these lines out about Catwoman's golden statues. Remember that? And anyway, long story short, Adam looks cross-eyed in that mask. I don't know if you know that. And by that time, we both started laughing. He said I looked like a raccoon. And the director came up and said, "You 2 guys are going to laugh me out of the business." I mean, he was worried for his own job. But we did finally come up with that position. Remember that position, Adam? It was around, was it numerically around 70? Best you can remember. Anyway, that's just part of the fun things that we had on Batman.
Don't touch that golden pussy.
What a ham. Huh? What a ham.
In the whites, you're staying up for it. Thank you.
Welcome around, guys, and thanks for my childhood. Appreciate it. Just curious, Mr. West, can you get any clout with get kind of a little Batman reunion with your friends on there? Voiceovers?
On where?
Family Guy?
That's very interesting.
That would be great. We'd love to see it, right?
Surprised they haven't already done it. They haven't.
Please. Thank you.
Yeah, they could be watching TV, some of the reruns, and then the mayor walks in and says, "Whoa, that guy looks familiar."
That'd be funny.
So they make that up. Stand up. Tell you, right?
Yeah.
How did you get to be on Family Guy?
Well, I just said yes. I love your enthusiasm. I remember you from up
You just said yes? That was it?
Well, Seth had written a pilot for me earlier, McFarlane, the creative family. And we online had kind of the same comic, ridiculous, absurd sensibilities. And so he called when he started Family Guy, and I said, "Yeah, I'd love to make fun of myself and send a check."
All right, someone else? Sir, the green.
Yes, I actually have a question for Mr. Ward. The sidecar on the motorcycle. How many times did you like almost have an accident in that thing?
Twice. I did have an accident twice.
Oh, you did have an accident twice.
It was when it came off, and it was by itself in the little go-kart thing. You couldn't turn it, but the slightest bit, you would flip over. And the other thing is that they didn't put it. In fact, did you see me on that treasure show when they? I don't know how many of you may have seen it, where they actually found the original go-kart type of thing, and we brought in, I authenticated it, and I remember it, and how I authenticated it is because the way they had the seat and they had the engine, it actually fried my rear end when I sat on the thing, and I never forgot that. That was the second accident. They didn't build the seat. Somebody thought they'd save a little money in leather and not build it over the entire motor. So that was, talk about a hot seat.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
I have to say something, Burt. I know you're too modest to hear this.
Okay.
Leave the room. I want to compliment him because we did stunts on our own on the show, and that sidecar with the motorcycle was so risky. And I had to press a button, and then it had to go where we had determined it should go, but it never did. So one time I pressed the button, and off the sidecar goes over the pier into the water. And Burt comes paddling to the surface covered with seaweed. And I thought, we really have gone through a lot, on this show.
Well, a lot of that too.
Yeah. And in the Batmobile, he was always white knuckled because he never knew what I was going to do. I got to compliment him. I mean, I think he had a lot of courage.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I will pay you the $50 for saying that. So
Sir in the blue. Yes, sir.
I have a question for all three of you. On the show, you had all those great stars as villains that come on as guests. I'm wondering if you could tell us anything, any anecdotal story about any of those great stars that were on the show with.
Lee?
Well, I can only speak to the movie. We had 3 wonderful guest stars who were also on the series, and that was Meriwether, Cesar Romero, and Frank Gorshin. And they were miracle workers, these men. I don't know how, well, I do too, because they were consummate performers. They worked very, very hard. I learned a great deal from them. Their work ethic was phenomenal. I would watch them practice these little gimmicks, little things. Remember the penguin in the submarine? He goes, run silent, run deep, and the cigarette holder goes to that. He worked for, I watched him off camera, off on the side, and he was working at it, run silent, run, try it again, run silent, run deep. He worked on it half an hour square. I watched Caesar practice the electronic things that he would grab the 2 fellows, and they would do all these special effects, but he had to make it look as though that was happening. And he practiced how he would grab their hands and work, now they would work this way. Watch them, and the same for the river. Frank Gorshin was given a costume for this one particular scene. And he went to the director and said, I'd love to be able to take off the jacket, and because they decorated this shirt or something about the suspenders, he wanted to show it, and he was out of the tights, and he was thrilled to death. He hated the tights. And the director said, don't have time, Frank. Come on, leave me alone. And do that. And I watched Frank turn away. I thought, oh dear, we're going to have a blow up, something, because that wasn't really nice to say to Frank Gorshin. And Frank just went off in the corner, and I watched him, and I thought, I wonder when he's going to come back and talk to the director. And he did. He came back and got into the chair. But what I had seen was him just off camera, off to the side. He came back. The scene started. He got up, took off the jacket, and threw it like this onto there was a hat rack, I think, there, and sat back down. Les Marcus, and the director goes, all right, reprint it. But they all were, that's the kind of men they were. They were precision actors, what I call precision actors. These two are as well. It was so exciting to be able to be a part of something so inventive and innovative that I was extremely lucky to be a part of it.
Thank you. You guys, anything else?
Lee just absolutely, I think, describes so well what really good actors do. Now, you folks, some of you probably think we just go to our dressing trailers or wherever and just hang out, right? Just do all those naughty things that you read about. No. We go in there and we do what you described. You move, you practice, you rehearse, you invent, you contrive, whatever ways of doing moments. And then when it happens in front of the camera and the other people are there, sometimes those moments change because you get a different kind of feed, or the little zephyrs of air change, whatever. But you must adjust to that as well. And that's what Frank did quite well. And Burgess, we had great guest stars, as you know. And they really were 80% of what made this show. Really. Now the other 20%.
They were having fun.
Oh my God, you had to, because to play characters who were really nutty. You know, Batman's insane. You don't run around 24/7 solving crime and telling Robin to put quarters in the meter. You gotta be, you know, a little English. But it was really amusing fun. It was a great time. And you people have stuck with us this long. I'm so grateful that you're here. And that you're still here. And you will be here tomorrow, maybe. That's terrific. Thanks, folks.
This doesn't happen in Hunt Valley, Maryland very often, obviously, but I want you guys to take a minute and appreciate what's sitting up here. We have the classic cast of the 60s Batman. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Meriwether, Burt Ward, and Adam West.
You know what that is, Mr. Mash?
A sigh of relief?
A sigh of contentment. Let's go with that.
Why would that be?
Well, because we just wrapped up a very satisfying weekend, for the most part.
You mean besides the 7 almost traffic accidents?
Yeah. Listeners, you're actually listening to us on the road.
On the road again?
Again.
I can't wait to get on the road again.
You can't help yourself. When somebody says that phrase, you have to sing that song.
I do, every time. It's like I'm brainwashed.
We're coming home from Monster-Mania 26 in Baltimore. Well, let's talk a little bit about what happened today. We started the day by buying lots and lots of things.
Lots more stuff than we had yesterday. And yesterday we spent way too much money on stuff.
Oh my God, I spent so much fucking money today. I came home with a lot of toys and a lot of DVDs and some other assorted junk too that I don't need, but have anyway.
That's a know the feeling.
Yeah, know the feeling is right. Disappointingly, Roddy Piper canceled at the last minute, so I did not get to see JD in a neck hold.
It's okay, because you know what? We had lobster 2 days in a row.
That's true, we did have lobster 2 days in a go.
Not that we're bragging or anything.
Because we're Americans. The only celebs who met today, well, I briefly met Felix Silla. I wanted to get a signature for him for a friend, and he seemed nice enough. I didn't know he was in the original Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. He was one of the gremlins in that. Overall, he was a little short with me.
Oh.
What was that, low?
Okay, stop it. Don't you think that's a little harsh?
it was just a minute amount of sarcasm. We're sorry. You know, I went back and forth on talking to Charles Band, but eventually we had to stop at the Full Moon table. And what was Mr. Band like?
Not a dick.
Yeah, he was pretty cool, though he was really pushing the merchandise. They had a bunch of stuff there. I bought Castle Freak on Blu-ray, and I got the Evil Clergyman, the H.P. Lovecraft adaptation, the Lost movie that is getting released.
They had advertisements for Ginger Dead Man versus the Evil Bong.
Yes, the most recent of Full Moon's team-up movies. He's probably premiering the trailer for that right about now. And also they were advertising his new film, what was it, Unlucky Charms?
Yes, Unlucky Charms.
Yeah,
They're magically malicious.
Yes, they've done a Killer Leprechaun movie.
It pains me to say that I will probably watch that movie because they managed to call it Unlucky Charms. They're magically malicious.
True, and they had a thing there at the booth where you could get the DVD in a box of cereal, all marshmallow cereal.
That made my teeth rot just thinking about it.
That was pretty cool. The big thing with Charlie is he was really pushing a subscription streaming service Full Moon is launching.
In all honesty, is it really that bad of a deal? No, we'll get back to you on that one when we actually check it out.
They say it was like $6 a month?
I think it was $6.99 a month, stream all their movies, or even the ones that haven't been printed yet.
Like Murder Cycle? No, $7 is kind of a lot for that.
There are several Full Moon movies that are worth $7 a month.
I guess.
I mean, little subspecies, but I own those. The ones I'm going to name I own, but...
He made it sound like pretty much the entire Full Moon catalog.
Does that include the kid one? What was it?
Prehysteria? The Moonbeam films.
Yeah, like the Moonbeam films.
I don't know if that includes Moonbeam and Seduction Cinema, the porn section they had. JD did ask him what the inspiration behind Evil Bong was, and I assumed the inspiration would be...
The Evil Bong?
The Evil Bong itself.
Apparently his son talked about his drug experiences or some shit, and he's
apparently
like, in that Evil Bong, and he's like, I wrote that down.
Because he made it clear that the title always comes first, which, from my understanding, has always been the Full Moon way. Title, poster, then a screenplay. But I said, I got a title for you, Mr. Band. I said, how about Doomcock? And his reaction was, that's a trauma movie. He's probably right.
Yeah, probably.
But aside from being kind of pushy, he was pretty nice. He gave us a picture for free, so that was cool. We got some more merchandise. I got Kuriku Beast of the Amazon, which is another missing part of my Universal collection. I got Shanks on Blu-ray, William Castle's last movie. I didn't even know that had been released. A couple other things on Blu-ray.
I managed to find yet a better copy, hopefully, of Batman 1966 series.
Yeah, that'll have to do until an official release gets released.
Yeah, but this one's actually taken from the 16mm film. So.
Well, that's what the guy said.
I mean, if it's not, then I have a reason to yell at him next.
Besides that, we hit some panels, and I recorded the Kane Hodder and then the Batman panel. I don't know how those came out. Hopefully the sound on that was decent enough that I can attach them to this episode. But we actually caught the tail end of the Addams Family panel, which was pretty interesting. Listening to Felix Silla talk about how he almost got set on fire in the Cousin It costume was pretty amusing.
He always talked about how he was able to pull back the hair to smoke a cigarette.
Or
take the mask off to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, in the Tweaky costume smoking. The Addams Family panel was cool. Carel Struycken was talking about how before he got cast as Lurch, walking down the streets of Los Angeles, people would always say, "You were Lurch, weren't you?" And he would have to tell them no. And to the point where apparently some people got a little belligerent about it. Like, no, I'm sure you were Lurch. So after he got the part, he was very thankful to producers so that he could say, yes, I am Lurch. Really, I had no idea that Lisa Loring, the original Wednesday Addams, had ever done anything else besides the show.
I didn't even know who she was, so hey.
Well, you know she's the original Wednesday, and that's as far as your knowledge goes.
Although they said something...
Oh yeah, you had a bone of contention here.
Yes, talking about how her and the original Morticia...
Yeah, Carolyn Jones.
Carolyn Jones, thank you. Were the original goth girls. And my response was, no, Elsa Lanchester.
And Bride of Frankenstein.
I don't know how much more goth you can get.
Well, she's dead. That's pretty gothy.
She cuts herself and she dates a dead guy.
We didn't want to spend any more time in the dealer's room because we didn't want to spend any more money, but we didn't want to sit out in the hot car. Considering that, it was a pretty good deal.
But overall, it was...
Well, let's talk about the Kane Hodder panel. It was him and R.A. Minoff, the guy that was...
from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 that played Leatherface.
Yeah, the third Leatherface. Kane is a real character, and he really knows how to play his audience, and he's very funny and rather ribald. It was funny how many kids were in the audience.
Yeah, asking him questions.
Like, who's your favorite Jason, what's your favorite kill, etc.
Well, I asked him what the favorite kill was. I'll admit it, I asked the lame question.
And they've got me interested in seeing this movie he was in. Kane and R and Don Shanks and Bill Moseley have been in this film called Smothered, directed by one of
John Cassier was in it?
John Cassier and Michael Berryman both have cameos, apparently. And it's being directed by Bo from the Dukes of Hazzard. Smothered, it's called. That sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's like this horror comedy.
And then the Adam West panel, the Batman panel, was the big panel of the night.
And it was amazing.
Adam is a ham.
I mean, he's the ham.
He is the uber ham.
The omni ham, thank you.
The ham from which all other hams originate.
This one girl
leaped right up and said, "How'd you get on Family Guy?"
And he's like, "I said yes!"
Yeah, that was his exact tone. That was great. I didn't know this, but apparently the Broccoli Widow had an interview with him about being James Bond in the 60s. When the guy asked the question, Adam responded by saying, "Were you there?"
Because he was very specific.
Yes, and speaking of specific question, the first question in the panel was this guy right in front of us, this weird dude that had a Hannibal Lecter mask on all weekend.
What's the question he asked?
He asked, on the episode where Liberace played the villain of the week, the cliffhanger was you were tied to piano strings as the hammer was coming down. And the next episode you got out of it by memorizing the tone or something. Was that the most ridiculous thing to ever happen in all the episodes of Batman? And Adam's response was, it was terrible.
I asked Burt Ward about...
Who had a good question?
The sidecar. How many times did you get hurt by firing that thing off?
Twice. Apparently there was no seat on it. He just sat directly on the motor.
Yeah, and burned his ass.
Burn his ass. Really great panel. As we were getting ready to leave the hotel, check out, a guy in full Freddy Krueger costume jumped into the head of the line and said, "I hope it's okay that I cut in."
And all the receptionist could do was to laugh.
What else would you do?
I've seen enough Freddy movies to know that if he says something like that to me, it's time to shit and get.
And apparently that's what this guy does. He goes to cons, and he dresses up as Nicholson's Joker and Freddy. And he just stays in character all weekend. Overall, would you say you had a great weekend?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed myself like I do every time.
Well, as always, our email is bangersinmash88@yahoo.com. The word bangers, the letter N, the word mash, the number 88@yahoo.com. If you want to contact us on Facebook, certainly do. Search The Bangers and Mash Show. We're the first one that comes up. As I mentioned in the last episode, my 31 Days of Halloween is currently ongoing at my blog. That's zacksfilmthoughts.blogspot.com. ZACKS filmthoughts.blogspot.com. Certainly, if you want to drop in and leave a comment or read something or whatever.
Shoot us an email.
Yeah, we would love to get more fan letters.
Give us more fan letters. Give us more suggestions.
We love doing episode suggestions. I love doing fan suggestions because it means I can take a week off, basically.
Yes.
So you'll hear from us again soon. I'm Mr. Bangers, a.k.a. Zach.
And I'm Mr. Mash, a.k.a. JD.
Stay cool, Wisconsin.
Live long and prosper.